Okay, so let's jump into the library. Now, everybody's library probably looks different. All the different schools do. Some libraries are better than others. I think that this one's pretty good, and you can see the different databases that are available. So basically, your library should list all of the different databases, and these are ones that they pay a fee for. And by them paying a fee, it gives you access to all of these search engines, and you shouldn't have to pay for anything. If you get to something and it asks you to pay, I wouldn't. I would just ask your librarian for help to find the article. You could do a Google search too for that journal topic or the title of the journal article, and that sometimes brings up the article for free. Otherwise, again, just ask your librarian if that's something of interest to you. The summon button, at least here with this library, is where you would put your keyword in. So I'm going to look at culture, and that's pretty vague. You'll see it brings up books, actually quite a few books. It also brings up a newspaper article. So for your research, you usually want scholarly and peer-reviewed. However, I still like to look at these other things just to take a peek to see, is there anything in here worth looking at. But you can't do a research project or a dissertation completely on books and magazine articles. Sometimes you can add a few of those in, but it should be very heavy with scholarly and peer-reviewed. So I click that button. You can also go to the advanced button, and that's where you can add other things. So maybe I want to also look at the culture in a school district. And that should narrow it down. Some of the other options that you could use, you could change like how recent is the article. You want your research to be fairly recent. You could also do searches specifically on the author's name, or if you know the exact title, you could do that too. So that gives you a chance to really narrow it down. Okay, now let's go ahead and pick this first one, and we will download it, and then we'll just take a peek. So usually I read the abstract first. That gives you about 300 words to know, is this interesting? Is it related to my study? Is it worth my time? If it's a difficult read, I skip it, because if the abstract's hard to read, the rest of the article will be hard to read too. But let's say we read this and we like it. Well, the next step that I usually do is I skip the rest of this, at least for now. Just skip it and go straight to the recommendations for future research. And sometimes, and I haven't looked at this one yet, so I don't know if it's even in here. Sometimes it says specifically recommendations for future research. Other times it should be listed towards the bottom. So let's take a look at the discussion section. If you don't have one that's specifically saying recommendations for future research, it might be in the discussion section. Now, we already did a find for the word future, and all we found was the word future in the references section, so that's not in there. We also did a find for the word recommend, and that's not in there. So the other option, like I said, is to just go to the bottom of the paper and take a look at what it says with regard to a discussion or a conclusion section. In this case, it is just up here. Okay, so then you could read this, maybe, it might be about a page worth, to see, does this give you any advice as to what's supposed to happen next? And because your research is not a copy paste of someone else's research, you want it to either add to the field of literature, fill a gap, or answer a call. And when you answer a call, that's when you could look in here and find something where they say, somebody should do something about this. And if you see that and you think, yeah, that's what I want to do, then that's where you are answering the call. So I don't really see recommendations in this. So let's go to another option. Let's see here. We'll go here. Now in this one, I actually did an advanced search looking for exceptional teacher. And I looked at culture. And I also looked at theory. Sometimes I have a hard time finding theory in articles, but we're going to take a look anyway and see what we find. So here we are with an article, approaches to teaching primary level math, phenomenological study of the lived experiences of exceptional secondary teachers. Well, this might be interesting. So notice it's a dissertation, and that's okay. We'll go ahead and get into this. I usually download the PDF because then you can do a search and find. And although dissertations are much longer, they should still be set up pretty similar to a journal article. So in this case, we can see they actually have a section called recommendations for future research, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's take a look at the abstract first. And again, this should be no more than a page, but usually about 300 words as to what they are studying. If we look at this and we think, yeah, this is interesting, I think I'll take a look some more. Let's go straight to that recommendations for future research. And here we go. So this is the recommendations for practice, which is important, but right now we want to see for future research. And here we see they did a nice job actually documenting them with numbers. So they say someone should conduct a similar study that includes more exceptional teachers. Okay, if that's what I want to do, then I can say I'm answering the call by this author that I'm going to do that. I'll conduct a study with more exceptional teachers. They may also say conduct a study with exceptional teachers of color. Well, okay, I might want to do that too. So again, you're answering the call of this author that you're going to look at more exceptional teachers and include in that teachers of color. The third one is the nationwide quantitative or mixed method study. So if you have an option to expand your search and include teachers in different states, different counties, different school districts, then you could also answer that call. So you can see they have several items listed, and if you want to do all of them, you could include all of them in your study. You could include just one. It's really up to you. You could do a mixture of 2 or 3. But we can't just base the study on just one article. This may be your golden ticket where you want to use this as kind of the foundation of your study, but then we want to find other similar studies that will add to the value of your study and reinforce all of these ideas. So let's look at one more. And here we have, let's see, let me go back to how I found this one. Actually, that is this one here. So I did a search for just culture and school district. And when I did that, it brought up this first article. So we take a look. Now in this one, what I was looking for specifically, this is the first one that we looked at actually, I was looking to see if they used the word theory. And they do talk about a few different theories, but they're not real specific. And this is what I see often is they talk about a theory, but it's pretty vague. Within your study, you need to base it on theory. So with that regard, again, we can go back to our search here, and we might look for an exceptional teacher. And then we may also pull in the word theory and just see what happens. So it's bringing in, we just saw this about primary level math, which isn't really related to what I'm looking for, I don't think. But let's just take a look because it brought it up as the first one. And with that, oops, we'll take a look at theory. So at least here they're saying his theory, so we can see that they're talking about the work of this guy. And it gives a little bit of information about it. And it looks like about it. So sometimes it's hard to find articles that give you the specific theory. I take that as a lesson to learn from. And so when you're writing, make sure we have a section specifically about theory to make it easy for the reader. We always want to make it easy to connect the dots back to what theory you are using. We'll take a look at one more before I close this video out. Hopefully, if the internet works. Here we go. Now this is actually a good one to pull up, because if I click on access options, it's going to want me to pay for something. And I don't want to pay for anything. So even though I'm in this great library with access to all of these databases, this article is not available. So if I wanted it, I might copy this over here into Google and see if it will pop up. Usually if it has PDF after it, you might get lucky and it may pop up. It's not going to though, not with that. Otherwise, some of the scholarly websites will have access to this. Looks like this is it. So you just have to poke around a little bit and sometimes you can find it. So we're looking at formation and effects of teacher expectations on students. And if I want to see, okay, so he's using the Pygmalion theory. At least we finally have a name for a theory here. And that's about it. So it's not as easy as it should be. Typically, when we're talking about theory in your research, it should definitely be much easier than it is in this example. But that pretty much concludes this video. Again, just poke around in your library, use some keywords that you want to look for, and you can also use that advanced button to add a few other keywords that might be of interest to you. And within that, when you get into your articles, go ahead and download your articles so that you have access to actually do a search. And some abstracts look better than others. This abstract's pretty nice because it gives you kind of at a quick glance what they did, how they did it, what their results are, and their conclusions. So let's say we like that. Then I look for those recommendations for future research. Here they talk about future considerations include targeting principles, utilizing the HR office, and strategically building a culture of health. So if that's something that you're interested in, again, you can say, I'm going to use that in my study. So you're answering the call of these scholars here. And that just adds to the credibility of your study. All right, well, I hope this helped.